Hey, how are you today? Hope you enjoyed this video. It's about who lives in Cambodia. This is something I talk about a lot when uh, I chat with tourists or people who are new to live here. Right now, I am at the Hotel Cambodiana. Down a little bit like that. You can see a little bit more. Alrighty. Uh, so, who lives in Cambodia? Uh, well, I tend to break it down into like three basic groups, but over the last maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe going back as far as 5 years, there's actually four groups. So the original three are obviously Cambodians, Khmers. Uh, it's Khmer, not Khmer. Unless you're talking about the Khmer Rouge, then we tend to say Khmer Rouge because that's what the entire international community knows them as, or knows that period as. But otherwise, if you're just talking every day, it's a French spelling because it used to be Cambodia was a French protectorate, so they're the ones that anglicized and using the Roman alphabet, Romanized. I don't know, whatever. So everything is the French language spelling, right? So you get a lot of silent S's on the end of words, and you have a silent R. It changes the way the E is. Well, because if someone French pronounces it, it's Khmer. All right. Anyway, so that's the first group of people, right? And this is, I tend to think of this group as Cambodians who pretty much stay to themselves, don't really interact with foreigners they need to for business or something. For example, staff once was working for me. I had a restaurant had food, and they refused to even taste anything that wasn't at least Asian food. Maybe not necessarily strictly Cambodian food, but Chinese food, Thai food, Vietnamese food, Malaysian food, uh, Asian food. Okay, and they had this idea that they had been taught since a child that you must eat rice every day or you will die. And I don't say that as hyperbole. They really, he and people like him really believe that if you do not eat rice every day, you will die. Um, I think that this kind of comes from parents and grandparents who survived the Khmer Rouge, and they only got like a spoonful of rice every day. And if you didn't get that rice, you would die. Um, and I think that um, connection is unstable. Please wait while we try connecting. Okay, so within this group, you have people that are don't like any foreigners, right? And that's okay. But you also have people that love foreigners and love the modern world and want to be modern. You have okay. Uh, all right. What's the next group? Because I don't want this to be a really long video. Go on and on. So the next group would be the French. As I mentioned, Cambodia was a French protectorate. A lot of times people use the word colony. It was a colony. It was not a colony, although it was the French colonial period. But technically it was a protectorate from, I think, 1863 to 1953. And then even when Cambodia had its independence, it was still had a lot of relationship with the French government and with French people. A lot of French people had come to Cambodia, fallen in love with it, married, and made lives here in Cambodia. And move forward to today, when you've also had a lot of French NGOs and helping rebuild after the Khmer Rouge. You've had, and they're primarily, they dominate arts and medicine and science. For a while, it's just recently changed, but all prescriptions were written in French. If you were a doctor, you had to know French. And Cambodians couldn't even read their own prescriptions because they were only in French, but that's changed, and now they're also in Khmer. So let's see. We also have, with today, this friend, she's cleaning the table. I'll pick this up for a minute. It's okay, because the table's a little unstable. So as she's wiping the table, it's moving the camera. So I'll just pick this up for a minute. Sure, no problem, no problem. But that's how it is in Cambodia. You know, everybody just does their thing around everybody else. You know, it's you go in sidebar here. You go into a restaurant, because it's like a small Cambodian restaurant. I call them the plastic chair restaurants. And you go in, and you can literally, this is what I do, and nobody's offended at all. Promise me, it's not just my imagination. I go up to tables and I look at what they have on their tables. You know, especially earlier on. Now I kind of know what I like, and I can ask for what, I mean, like if I go into a Cambodian restaurant, nobody speaks English, I can ask for what I like, and if they have it. And if they don't, I have something else that I like that I can ask for. I don't really have to look. But sometimes I just want to see if there's something interesting and new that I want to try something new. And so I look and see what they have on their plates. Right. And most people are really friendly, that you're coming up to them. They're not like, what are you doing coming up to my plate and, coming up to my table and looking at my food? Go away. You know, you're rude and you're intrusive. No, they don't have that attitude at all. They're like happy, and friendly. And that's how you order at a Khmer restaurant. You look at what people are eating and you say, oh, that looks good. And you tell the waitress, I want that one. And then the people are actually, they feel honored that you chose to eat what they're eating, Okay, so the French, modern day. I call the French community the invisible universe, okay? Because they really kind of are to anybody else, unless you're French or Francophile, or as one of my best friends says, who is French Cambodian, she says Frenchie, the Frenchies. That's her word, not mine. I'm not being derogative or anything. I don't have a lot. I have a few friends that are from this world. I interact with this invisible world because I work with film. And film, again, is kind of arts. And so there's a lot of involvement with the French community in helping build the film industry here. Okay, so why? Why are they invisible? Well, I'll tell you why. It's very simple. It's not a mystery to me. You have French people who come to Cambodia with their salaries in euros, and good salaries. So they tend to have more money than the rest of us, right? Well, why? What does that matter? Well, whatever country you're from, when you're traveling somewhere else, it's comfort food to eat what you're used to, as well as to speak your native language. So if I'm German in Cambodia, I'm going to, at least once in a while, go to the German restaurant and have my comfort food if I don't have someone at home cooking it for me, right? So I'm going to go to the German restaurant and I'm going to speak with some of my German friends, but maybe not all the time. But with the French, what happens, there's so many that and when you think of the French comfort food, like there's cheese, cream, things that are very, very expensive in Cambodia. Okay, so their food costs more, so the rest of us can't really afford to eat it, but they can, and they get to be around each other speaking French. Okay, So while yes, there are some stereotypical French people that think they're better than everybody else, and that the French culture is the true culture of life, and their language is the best language and has been used for diplomatic and internationally until World War II. Um, there are a few people with that kind of mindset, but not everybody. I think for most of the invisible universe of French people in Cambodia, it is just convenience and means. They have the means to be with each other exclusively, and there's a lot of them because it used to be a French protectorate. So there's this connection with Cambodia where maybe people from other countries are kind of afraid to come to Cambodia. They don't need to be, but some people are. They have misconceptions about how poor it is and how dangerous it is or whatever. And but the French don't have that hesitancy at all. They love Cambodia, right? Okay. And that brings us to the third group of people in Cambodia, and that is all the other expats. Okay, because for the rest of us, English is our common language. And so that is lucky for me, right? And there are so many subgroups. You have the NGO workers, that's one. And so you have the older ones in high positions, which tend to make ungodly amounts of money. But that's okay. A lot of times they're able to purchase works of art and things like this from local artists that I would never be able to afford, at least not right now. And so they do put the economy, they can restaurants more, they can afford this and that, and so I'm not being negative just because they have high salaries. It's just a fact, they do. And then you also have all the like volunteers, but volunteers are like in the NGO world are actually paid positions. I'm not sure why they call it volunteer, except that maybe it's the length of time, like 6 months or a year, that they're here, and they tend to be almost like type age group. I mean, right now they'd be millennials. And most of the time, these people are very much either do-gooders, or partiers, and they get pretty good salaries from the MGL for what they do and for living in Cambodia. So they're able to go out and drink and party and or buy rice for people, which is a good thing. It's not bad to be a do-gooder, except that stuff. So the reason why a lot of other people in Cambodia don't do-gooders is that they tend to look down on Cambodians. Okay, not all of them, but there's like a large percentage that have this like, oh, the poor Cambodians, we need to help. We're the rich Western world, and we need to help the poor Cambodians. And in some cases, it's kind of true, they do need help, but I mean, not that kind of attitude though. I mean, they have a "we're better than you" attitude. All right. Then let's see. You have, of course, the sexpats and the nightlife kind of expats that stay in the bar. They sleep in the morning or whatever, and then it's they go to the bars all night. They're in the drugs. And everything. They're here to make money, because if that's your objective, you can do it here. I mean, the key thing about Cambodia, it is whatever you make it. That's it. If you want to see all the poverty and dirtiness and everything, there's, there's areas in Los Angeles or New York or London that are dirty too. Even though you have street sweepers, there's certain areas that are dirty. Well, if you go to the certain areas here that are dirty, then that's what you're going to see. But not everything is really all that dirty. Also depends on the time of day, because you get the trash collection usually comes around at night, and in the late evening, the early evening, people start putting out their trash. So if you're going out to dinner, you might be walking past a big pile of trash in the street and you think, oh my God, but by the next morning it's gone because the trash collectors came and picked it all up. It's whatever you make it. If you want to make money, you can come here and make money, no problem. And a lot of people, they want to just come and relax and maybe have an easy teaching job or maybe retire. And all of that is here too, but I'd say like the three main subgroups of the expats are, and for anyone who doesn't know what I'm saying with expat, it's short for expatriate, which technically means somebody that would like move to another country and burn their passport, right? They've left their home country. It's not that extreme anymore. And pretty much anybody who's come to live here, even if it's just temporarily for a few years, are called expats. All right. There's more subgroups, but those are like the main ones. So the fourth one that started, that is definitely, I have to count it as another universe here, a group of people, is the Chinese. Some people love them, some people hate them, but the Chinese that are coming here tend to be rich unless they're slave labor. But you wouldn't see them because they would be locked in a room doing telephone scams in a rented, like a guest house or hotel